Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the California-Nevada chat of Friday, February 9th, 2024. My name is Len Dumas, and on behalf of NCPGA President Eric Lippert and our colleagues, Executive Director, CEO Nikki Gatch, President Eric Lohman, and Executive Director Emeritus Tom Addis of the Southern California PGA, we thank you for your continued support of our chats. And this week, Nikki is on the road a little bit, so great to have Tom behind the microphone once again. To our on-air team, Steve Monday, Shelby Sell, Bryce Seaver, Danny Cross, making sure that we're broadcast over 48 continuous states as well as Hawaii and Alaska, maybe not. And shout out to Steve Monday. Steve is on his final day of level 1 program today. So Steve, we're all thinking about you. We know that you'll absolutely kill it. Thanks this morning, our guest, Brandy Kane, our PGA of America Hope Lead, PGA member Kathy Harbin, owner of Pine Ridge Golf Course in Paris, Texas, who's been instrumental in our programming and initiatives, recently elected as president of the National Golf Course Owners Association, and Craig Kessler, director of public affairs for the Southern California Association. So first off, we hope that everyone is doing well and did well in the past 2 weeks with all the rain and winds and storms and floods that we've been having. Keep in mind to our PGA members, if need exists, the Medical and Disaster Relief Fund may be able to assist. Please let us know if you need information. Happy to send out the link to that. And of course, it is also available on pga.org. So for the moment, I'll turn it over to our colleague and Executive Director Emeritus from Southern California, Tom Addis. Tom?
Yeah, good morning, everybody, and it's great to be here. And as we move firmly into 2024, and the West Coast swing is almost complete on the PGA Tour this week in Phoenix, and then next week at the Riviera Country Club. So we're excited about that. As Len mentioned, very happy that our colleagues got through the storm. We had some areas down here, the Bel Air area in particular, that had 12 to 14 inches of rain, and Riviera, Bel Air, LA Country Club, those came through with minimal loss, a few trees here and there and some bunkers. So up in Santa Barbara, the same. Valley Club, for example, came through with flying colors, so to speak, which adds a little bit to our snowpack. It was conversation going on before this storm hit that we're back down. The snowpack was back at one of its lowest levels again, but now this is going to help pick it up. We had about 2 to 4 feet of snow in Big Bear. We had anywhere from 3 to 6 feet up in the Wrightwood area in certain places. So it's all looking pretty good in that regard, and looks forward to a nice spring. So Len, take her away.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. And all that snow, no match for the Jeep, right?
Oh yeah, it works. I've not done the snow yet, and don't know if I will. I'm going to stick with the mud and the desert.
Okay.
Like this weekend, for example.
All right. Well, let us know if you do.
Yeah.
Of course. So Brandy Kane, Brandy, thank you so much for taking your time. We know you've got a session coming up in about 20 minutes, so we'll move along. Many of us know you, Brandy, with our work with PGA Reach and PGA Hope and the great programs that you support, that you make happen. So Brandy, how about a little bit, let everyone else know a little bit about you and how we wound up here, and then we'll dig into our programming.
Yeah, so thank you all again for having me and for giving me the chance to say hello to everybody. Hello from PGA home office. So come and visit us if you want to come on by, and we'd love to see you. But I've been with the PGA almost 3 years now, serving you all as you grow and serve our veterans. So my job is really just to be the support and everything that our sections and our pros need in order to serve our veterans. So I lead your PGA Hope program and the day-to-day efforts. I have a phenomenal team, and our job is to make sure you've got all the tools and things that you need in order to provide the absolute best golf program for our military community. So I'm a military spouse. My husband is an Army veteran, 2 tours, and just wrapped up his military career last May. So very happy that that chapter of our life is done. But I've spent about 10 years of my career serving the military community, whether in a nonprofit role or here with the PGA. And then before that, worked in professional sports, working on the community relations, sponsorships, sports events side of the house. So the military community really has been a part of my family and a part of who I am. My grandfathers were in the military, my uncles. So it's very much kind of been in my DNA, and consider myself very fortunate that I get to do this every day. I always say that I get to serve our veterans through the game of golf. And I get to work with them primarily, and golf is the mechanism by which we get to do it. So I'm very grateful. I mean, our pros are phenomenal human beings who want to give back and want to serve and want to support, and they have incredible skills. And my job is to be able to connect them with that veteran who needs those skills. And just very grateful to have this platform with you all. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you, Brandy, and certainly to you and the family for your involvement and support and service, to ourselves and to our veterans. And you left out a piece. I think there are a couple of twins involved recently. Yes.
That's right. Yeah. So I'm a proud new mom. So if you get anything from me, it may come at 3 or 4 a.m. So I have 2 twin little boys. They are growing like weeds. This week they have discovered they've discovered avocado and mango. So we're big on fruit this week in the Kane household.
Okay. A moving target in itself.
That's all right.
So, Brandy, let's talk a little bit about the programming and really how it's evolved. Particularly post-COVID, there's really an explosion of registrations and programs around the country, and we strategized. We meaning all of us, again, all 41, right, about 2 years ago with the heat map and such, on a 3 or 5 year growth plan. But it seems like we're knocking the doors down and are ahead of the program. Would you go into a little bit about that, please, Brandy? How the heat map was developed, what the purpose was, and how we're looking.
Yeah. So when I came in, I very much have my nonprofit background comes in and looks at how can we make sure that we're doing the very best job that we can, and we're reaching the veterans where they are, and how can we make sure that we're being efficient with our dollars too. So I'm very conscious that anytime a donor gives us $1, it could be the last one that they have. And so I want to make sure that I'm honoring the gift of that they're willing to support us. So we took a look at where we were supporting programs, how they were being funded, what we were paying for, and just really making sure that everybody across the board is providing the same experience. Because I want to make sure that the experience in California for a veteran, you all perform at a very high level. I want to make sure that I'm holding every section and every program to that same standard. So we developed a heat map in order to help our program grow so that we could go where the veterans are. So in California, you're very lucky. You're the #1 state for veteran population. So we very much, have grown exponentially, and rightfully so. You have a lot of golf courses, you have a lot of veterans. It's natural that you would have a very large program. So we've been very fortunate that we've had great adoption in both sections, and thanks, most of all to Amberlyn and Tony and Brianna and Jeff, and of course, for the NorCal staff, Susie and Bob and Will and Jacob, and they've all leaned in, and everybody has adopted and been able to apply this growth mindset that, there's 17 million veterans in our country and there's 2 million active duty. We certainly are never going to run out of people to serve. So that's really, been my role, is to figure out how we can all collectively grow together. We've been able to reach all 50 states. Our goal by 2026 is to get to 30,000 veterans a year. I could see us going past that number. But again, it goes back to just making sure, every donor that we can say, this is what our plan is, this is where our funds are going, this is how efficiently we're using the dollars. And I think we're doing that. We're doing a great job collectively all together. That's the other thing. With 41 sections, there's often 41 different ways of doing things. And, I think we've done a great job just collectively as the PGA of America of all leaning in together, and really all leading and serving in this way.
Yeah, Brandy, thanks for that. And it's interesting, we talk about it certainly here in California, how what were a couple of years ago, our long-term goals in terms of number of veteran serves are almost becoming our annual goal because the programs are growing. 26 this year in Northern California, same, in Southern California, the explosive growth. So, Brandy, talk a little bit about, don't mind, how we honor them. In other words, Health and Wellness Week with our ambassadors, and certainly the Secretary's Cup, which are for all of us truly bucket list events, but for our veterans, just incredible life experiences.
Yeah, so starting off with Secretary's Cup, so that's going to be coming up here on May 13th. Right, we host it every year during the week of the PGA Championship, so it'll be coming up in San Francisco in a couple of years, but we host it on that Monday before, and we bring 12 teams from around the country, both from our upcoming championship markets, but we also have 5 wildcard spots. So those are open to any section to be able to apply for one of those spots. But it's a team of 4 veterans and 1 PGA professional. And really, it's about the therapeutic journey for that team. So for some of our pros who may be on the call who have instructed or led a PGA Hope program, you may often have met that veteran who this is the first time they're really getting out of the house, or this is the first time that they've tried something new or put themselves out there. Maybe they're overcoming depression, PTS, MST. It just varies. Or it could just be someone who has lost that connection with their community. So this is really the chance for them to play in a tournament on a national level. There's tons of local things that they could be involved in. They could play in charity tournaments locally, but this is a chance to represent something. So for Northern Cal, for example, it's the chance to be a part of a team. They're going to work together, all those 4 veterans, and you're really bringing an amalgamation of veterans from different eras of service, different branches, different service histories. And that team is then traveling this year to Kentucky to be able to represent the Northern California section, or whichever section is going to be participating. And it's their chance to perform at a high level. It shakes the nerves a little bit, but it also challenges that veteran. Our veterans have navigated a lot in being in their time of service, and our goal as a program is to provide that therapeutic outlet to be able to challenge them to take that next step in their journey. So this tournament's a great way for them to do that. It's also a lot of fun. We have a good time. It's a 9-hole scramble, and the pro, I think the pro walks away with just as many memories as the veterans do. He or she gets to lead that team, work together with them, get to know them on a personal level. So it's a really great experience for that team together. So we'll have that event. And then another thing that we do is we have what's called the ambassador program. So every year our sections nominate. We only have 20 spots. It's 20 for a reason. It's meant to be very competitive. It's meant to be a really important thing to be able to be nominated and selected. But all of our sections have the opportunity to nominate a veteran that they feel represents and would support the program locally to them. And that veteran is someone who has either overcome a great deal, gotten a lot out of PGA Hope, but really just wants to serve and give back. Because again, our veterans in our military community, they sign up really selflessly to be able to give of themselves to something greater than themselves. And so this provides them that opportunity in their life after service, again, to serve and to give back in a way. I always say that the military community has the hands down greatest leadership skills, and they've been through the greatest leadership academy that our country has. So we as the PGA of America should be able to tap into that. And so they act as local community leaders after they come to DC with us for a week. We walk them through mental health, wellness. Yes, we have a lot of golf and do a lot of golf skills, but they walk away with a lot of tools in the toolbox to help them overcome the challenges that they might have. And now in those local communities around the country, we have 20 ambassadors. So you have John Reisenweiber, Will Stockholm in Northern Cal, and you have James Davenport down in Southern California. And they act as an extension. They can have that peer-to-peer conversation with another veteran who may be struggling. And that's really important, just from a program experience standpoint, but also just overall wellness for them. I think it's really important that we provide that outlet so that when a veteran does show up, we can say, yes, we're here to help you. And we've got someone that you can talk to that, maybe understands what you've been through. So it's been a really great experience for us. This will be our, we'll actually have 100 after this year's class. So it's really exciting, and it only gets better. And every year our team looks to see how we can do better, impact, and serve our veterans more. So really excited about that.
Randy said something really important at the beginning, and our own Bob Epperly, who's a national trainer, as a matter of fact, what a great professional, great resource, says it at the same time, that the goal is really the bringing the veterans together to remove that isolation, to be back socializing, to be with each other. And golf is second, but it's the way we accomplish the first goal, which is really the mission.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like I said, our job is to serve the veteran. Golf is just kind of the mechanism by which we're doing it. Because really what we're fostering is community and connection and positive outlooks and overcoming challenges. And we do that on the golf course. We just may not apply it in the therapeutic sense. But veterans very much flock to golf. They're type A personalities. They want to be challenged. They want to try something new. There's the ever chasing the skill development of you can never really perfect your game. So I think it's all of those things, but really what they want is to be amongst each other and to know that someone out there sees them and understands them and can connect with them on a personal level.
Yeah. So Randy, if you don't mind, talk a little bit. I am watching the clock because I know you do have a 12:30
Thank you.
Texas. The creativity are all around the country of fundraisers and the different types of events that are being held now. It just people just again, our colleagues, our peers, and our veterans keep coming up with just some amazing ideas how to keep the programs going. One, the initial 7-week program, but two, quote unquote continuation programs to make sure we're not done. We're just getting started, actually.
Yeah, so I'll make a shameless plug, Lynn. If any of our pros who are on the call have a tournament that they put on at their club, or they know someone with a tournament, your section foundations would be phenomenal charitable beneficiaries of those tournaments. So shameless plug to be able to, encourage that and foster that. Anytime I meet somebody with a charitable tournament, I'm like, hey, have you met your section foundation? They could put those funds to use immediately. So shameless plug there. And I'll give a great example. In our Michigan section, one of the things they did around Veterans Day was they did sort of like a drive, chip, and putt, but each of the veterans had a team with one PGA professional, and the veterans self-organized. They organized the whole thing. They raised the funds together collectively, and then PGA Reach matched it through an annual fundraiser that we do called National Day of Hope. And the really great thing that happened was, the section benefits, but the pros all really have fun. The veterans have a great day out of it. And those funds ultimately go back to help with the continuation of the program, because we try to take on, PGA Reach tries to take on the first initial program and fund that. And then whatever happens next, we leave that up to the community. So, some of our sections are really going to want their veterans want competitive golf, and they want to be able to play, and compete against each other and work on that skill development. And then you have others who they just want to socialize. And so we let the community determine what does golf look like afterwards. Part of the VA's whole health model actually puts the veteran at the center of defining their own wellness. And so that's why you'll see that we let the veteran decide what does golf look like for them and how does that get applied to their overall whole wellness, rather than us coming down and saying, okay, you graduate from this program, these are the next steps that you must take.
Yeah.
We really let the veteran decide how they apply golf to their overall well-being.
Mhm.
So the sections support that. Your fundraising supports those kind of things and cultivates that community. And then really the sky's the limit. So I will say no section I know has ever turned down dollars. So anything anybody can do to fundraise, whether it's a golf marathon, a donation from your club, participate, even the closest to the pin contest, your sections will put that money to use.
Yeah. Randy, if you wouldn't mind a little bit on the relationship with the Veterans Administration, particularly, the memorandum of understanding, and then a little bit on the capital campaign, which really is critical to the continued growth.
Yeah, so we have an MOU with the Department of Veterans Affairs. So essentially what that means is that we have a handshake agreement with the VA. They helped us outline our standards by which we'll conduct our program. It's a big deal. We're the only adaptive golf program with this MOU. So it's the VA is bigger than the United States Navy. So to give you some context for navigating an organization that large. From there, the VA, we work with them to do direct referrals from any therapist, doctor, or clinician within the VA healthcare system. They can actually say that a veteran can use PGA Hope as part of their therapeutic rehabilitation. So whatever I'm going to the VA for, imagine your doctor quite literally writing you a prescription for golf. So that's really their good housekeeping stamp of approval for our program. It means that they recognize the value of what we're doing and the impact it can have on the veterans. So we work very closely with them around the country in very different facets of the VA. We have thousands of veterans who get referred every year directly from them. So it's been a really great partnership. It's coming up on 10 years now. So we've barely scraped the surface of the number of veterans that we could touch and serve through them. So I'm incredibly blessed to have their partnership and most of all their endorsement of what we're doing. And then to touch on the capital campaign, our PGA Reach team has been fundraising just to help us sustain and eventually reach that goal of 30,000 veterans a year. So every year the team is embarking out on a new fundraising goal that's led by the development side of the house. I handle the program side. So they've been fundraising around the country. They have trustees who help guide and support. So again, if you know a donor, if you know someone who you think might be interested in supporting this effort, by all means, we can use the dollars and put them to good use.
Yeah, Randy, thanks. Okay, last thing, another shameless plug.
Yeah.
Going to ask you to recruit for some instructors. Bob's out. We do trainings all the time as trainings are happening all around the country, and it'd be nice to have another voice at the moment to talk to our professionals on the call right now, other than ourselves and Nikki and Amber Lynn and such. So let them have it. Tell them they need to sign up.
Yeah. So let's start with the core basics, right? PGA Hope is part of deferred compensation. So that's number one thing. Number two, you'll get 6 PDR credits. Yes, we will even feed you lunch. So those are the core things. We'll get those out of the way. When you attend the training, I promise you that you will walk away and you will say, this is the greatest, most educational thing I have done as a PGA professional. And then the next day when you walk in and you instruct a veteran for the first time, I promise you'll walk away and say, this is the greatest thing I have done as a PGA professional. It's one day that you're going to take for getting trained. You'll get certified, and essentially we're going to walk you through any scenario that you may encounter with the veteran community. So amputees, traumatic brain injuries, PTS, burn pit exposure, anything that you may have heard about the veteran community, you're going to learn a little bit more about that. And then we're going to walk you through hands-on how to work with a veteran who may be blind, hard of hearing, an amputee, in a wheelchair. That's not going to be every scenario that you're going to encounter, but we're going to train you and give you the skills that you're also going to be able to use with any population. So that's the other thing. You're going to be able to apply the things that you learn, but most of all, you're going to be able and ready to serve. Again, we have thousands of veterans in California who could use the program, and we just need the pros bought in to do it. So I could use your help. Lynn could use your help. Amber Lynn can use your help. Susie, Bob, and Will can all use your help. It's a single day. I'm sure that we can get you signed up the minute that you say yes. If not, my team can certainly find a way as soon to get you trained, but I would be forever grateful if you would just consider joining us. And I promise you, it'll be the greatest thing that you do as a PGA professional.
Brandy, thank you. First things first, right? Thanks to all of our veterans who have served, that are with us and have brought us to this point in the programming, and yourself and your family as a military family. And, we will continue on, right? We will continue on. And you're absolutely right. We always walk away with more than we took there. We always walk away with unbelievable stories and another relationship that is a means for us to say thank you for all the freedoms that we have, and how we go about our day to day here in this country. So thanks, Brandy. Yeah.
Of course, Lynn. Thank you guys. And thanks, Tom, Nikki, and Amberlynn, and everybody that I see on the call. I just appreciate you all so much being a part of this and leading in this. I always say I can't do what I do without you. And I'm very, very fortunate that I get to work and do what I do every day with all of you who believe in this so much. So thank you.
All right. Take care, Brandy. Be safe.
All right. Bye, guys. See you later.
Okay, Tom?
Thanks, Brandy.
Back to you for a moment. Yeah.
Appreciate it. My video for some reason is not working at this point, which is probably pretty good for everybody. Here we go. But now it's a great pleasure to introduce from Monarch Beach Golf Links our Southern California PGA president, Mr. Eric Lohman, for a few words. Welcome words. Eric, thanks.
Good morning. Sorry I wasn't able to jump on first thing in the morning. I was out with our superintendent trying to figure out how 7 inches of rain in 48 hours, where does it actually go? And I can report back that there's at least 1 inch left on top of the golf course. So if you're looking for a slip and slide, come out to Monarch Beach Golf Links, because we have a couple tee times available today. But I do want to just say, just to echo what Brandy said, and in regards to PGA, I hope what an amazing opportunity for all of us to support something that is so important, I think, not only to us, but to the nation and to those folks that have served our country. And I can tell you that that we here at Monarch are all going to be attending a PGA Hope training next week, and we're going to be hosting a fundraiser in April with a commitment of $25,000 to our foundation to support PGA.Hope. And then we're going to host an event, or actually a series of clinics through that program. Once we're trained, because we're not trained yet, we can't do it. We'll be doing that right after that. So, we're definitely excited for that opportunity. And coming from my dad was the captain in the Navy, 2 terms of Vietnam. I grew up in that household. I grew up with that life. I understand that plight, and I understand that struggle. So this will just be another opportunity for us to do what's necessary and to give back to those who have given so much to us. But just want to thank everybody for being on the call and participating. Obviously, Len, Kathy, Tom, everybody. Craig Kessler, I know, is on mute, the godfather of all advocacy. But what you do is very important, very special to us. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your call, and just know we appreciate the message. So cheers.
Eric, thank you so much. And as we celebrate our centennial year in 2024, Eric, we appreciate your involvement, what you've done, and we look forward to the rest of the year. So thank you very much.
No worries. I haven't been around as much as you have during that centennial, Tom. But I was reflecting the other day about how neat it'll be to learn more about the the past accomplishments of the PGA members in our section. Obviously, 100 years is a long time, and I'm sure we're going to learn a little bit. I think I saw something the other day about somebody who either was a participant in the Ryder Cup, which I wasn't even familiar with. So I do know that as we start to showcase some of those stories and those people, and I think it'll just be a neat thing for us who care about history and care about legacy. And I know obviously we've talked about this at some time, but Len Kinnett being the chairperson of this committee as well. Len is probably not going to be able to attend everything, but when I had an opportunity to spend some time with him and hear his stories and the impact that he's made generationally, not just to the people that he worked with, but to the sons and the nephews of the people he worked with, how it keeps pushing down the line. It's just pretty interesting and pretty significant. And I just think it's a pretty neat opportunity for all of us to learn from those that came before us, so that we can pay it forward just like you all done for us. So not saying that, Tom, you've been around for all 100, but again, you can take credit for more than I can, and so can others. And I just appreciate the opportunity as well to be a part of that this year as your president, and we'll keep doing that. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. And there's a pretty good chance that I'm the one who's been around the longest on this program today. Mr. Cadet is our oldest living PGA member in Southern California at 97, and is still energetic and looking forward to this year. Eric mentioned some of the posts. That happened to be Olin Dutra, who played in the Masters and of course was very successful on the tour as well as a club professional. And thanks to Bryce and Danny, you'll see on a regular basis on Facebook and Instagram and the other socials doing a post on our centennial history, the history through our centennial on a regular basis. So we're excited about it. And speaking of being excited, and Eric, thank you again. We now have, and it's my pleasure to welcome a young woman who is probably, if not the most involved PGA professional in our country. Kathy's certainly up there with all that she's involved with, notwithstanding ownership of 2 golf courses, I believe. Is that right, Kathy? Just one. Okay, well, that's enough. As well as serving on the PGA of America Board of Directors and a couple of committees, and just took over as president of the National Golf Course Owners Association, which is, along with being quite an accomplishment, is quite the responsibility. So, Kathy, congratulations to you and welcome to you to the California-Nevada PGA Chat. We're excited to have you with us, and welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Tom, and thank you for the great introduction. I try to stay involved. I know you and I had that conversation, and we talked about staying involved and trying to help wherever we could. And that's really what I see from so many golf professionals. We just want to make the game better, leave the game better, and so that's what we do. Why we do what we do.
How do you feel when you get up every day and you're faced with the responsibility that you do have, whether it's the Golf Course Owners Association or the PGA of America, your club, your course? It's huge responsibility, and I'm surprised you even sleep. But you're extraordinarily relaxed for as busy as you are. And how do you face that responsibility every day?
Well, that's a great question. I always say my first responsibility is to my golf course that I own and to the people who work here. And so that's primarily what the first thing I think about, and unless I'm off doing something, but that's really, I'm an operator at heart. I no matter what setting I'm in, I tell people I'm a proud PGA professional, and everything I think, feel, and every filter I use is the filter of being a PGA professional. And so even when I look at my role as an owner, I run it through the PGA professional filter, because that's what I know. That's to me, it's still the grassroots of what we do every day is is touching our customers, and they're the heartbeat of our industry. So, but to take on the different roles that I take on in the different committees and things, it's really, I get asked that question a lot, by the way, but it's more about compartmentalizing. It's people say talk about multitasking and things like that, and there's a lot of studies that have been shown that you actually cannot hold more than one thought in your head at a time, no matter how good you think you are at multitasking. There's always one thought in your head at a time. So having recognized that, what I tried to get better at is the ability to focus completely on the task at hand, and the ability to move quickly from task to task. So, so that's really, I think, the key to me being able to manage a variety of things in the course of the day. It's not like I get to spend one day and just think about my operation, and one day just thinking about the PGA of America, or one day just thinking about the Owners Association. It's one day and they all kind of jump in and out all day long. So it's the ability to focus on what's in front of me, and then change directions quickly as the next thing comes along.
If there's anyone out there who, excuse me, is thinking about getting involved and what that means, and this is a little bit of a, I don't know, kind of a leading question, but at the same time, I think it might have some value to those in the audience listening. What kind of a value do you place on your involvement, especially as broad-based as it is? And even more so, can you quantify your involvement, because you own a golf course and your exposure around the country, and what value and how can you quantify that, or do you?
Well, I think I can, yes, because early on in my career, I just tried to be places. I tried to be at every PGA show. I tried to be at the annual meetings before anyone knew my name, except for you, Tom. You always went out of your way to make sure you said hello to me and made me feel welcome. But the value of being there, learning what I would learn at those meetings and at those sessions, and then the relationships I built, those are the reasons that I started getting asked to serve on committees, because I was in those settings. I was having conversations in breaks with people who were president of the PGA, with people who were, serving on other committees. And so for anyone who's wondering, what's the value? First of all, there's this self-fulfilling reward to know that you are helping either your fellow PGA professionals or just people enjoy the game better. And that in itself would probably be enough. But then there's no doubt in my mind that the reason I got asked to be the member at large for the National PGA of America board was because I was in those rooms. I spent a lifetime and a career of being in those rooms, meeting the right people, meeting people who eventually would be the ones making those decisions. And when they started talking about who should we invite, who should we ask, I was on the short list because they knew me, they saw me, and I was around.
And this is I guess you can say you almost covered this, but this is kind of a two-prong, or part of the second prong to that question. You get to go to the Ryder Cup, or excuse me, you have the opportunity to go to the Ryder Cup, the PGA Championship, and other events like that. And I know when I was in the golf operations business, and I don't mean to say this as a lead to stimulate anything, but I was always able to bring best practices back to my facility and facilities. Do you find the value in that? And do you find yourself in that realm, as far as when you attend whatever these events might be, that does have a value that you can bring back to your operation?
It definitely does. I mean, there are so many really smart operators out there, and anytime you go to a session or you go to a championship, and you can take just one little tidbit home with you that makes your operation better, it was really worth the trip. And there is always something. You just find the way where they put the trash can on the first hole, and you realize that yours was out of position based on that. It's just little stuff like that. If you're paying attention, which we all should be all the time, paying attention, then you just pick up on so many different things. The way they line, I can remember the first time I was, really early in my career, but the first time I went to an event and I saw carts lined up and they looked like little soldiers the way they were lined up. And I can remember thinking, that's how I want my carts to look, so
Yeah.
that's how you learn that stuff. You learn it by seeing it other places. And my carts didn't look like that when I ran a tournament before I saw them. I saw them and was so impressed by that look.
Yeah, that's part of it. I remember and still do, when I would go around, especially when I was on the rules committee. And with the good job, the great job that Kerry Haig does, I found safety to be a factor that I could bring back what the practices of the PGA in these championships and apply those practices at my facilities, our facilities. And that was extremely valuable, I felt. Lynn, you have a question, I think.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Thanks, Kathy, for joining us. With everything that you've got going, and life is probably in 15 or 20-minute segments at points. So congratulations, as Tom mentioned, on your election as president of the NCGOA, and certainly for all the service that you've done for us. The one I'd like around with you, Kathy, is about a place to play, and tie that with really the leave behind at a PGA championship. The setup of whether it be a putting course or the involvement of that community, not only when we're there, such as Southern Hills 2 years ago, but what a great legacy and what a great move that the PGA is not one and done, but this is now a continuum.
Yeah, Lynn, thank you for asking that question, because it's really something, as you know, that I chair that committee, and it's just something that we do that we're so proud of, and I'm so happy to be a part of that group. And who would have thought, right? I mean, we went into these championships, we knew we had these towns, and we knew we had an economic impact. We knew we were making the place better for a little while we were there, and everyone was making a little bit more money, and the businesses were doing well. But then we would leave, and there was nothing that, other than maybe some lingering economic impact, until we came back again, or if we came back again. But then we came up with this, and it was really Seth Waugh came up with this idea of places to play, and it was twofold, really. We wanted to be able to offer affordable, easy access for people to enter the game. We talk about it all the time. There's a rise in participation right now. However, there's still 21 million people who say they're very interested in playing the game of golf exclusively. If you add that with the people who say they want to play in at any level, entertainment or otherwise, it's 40 million. But people who say I want to play golf at a golf course is 21 million. So we still have not gotten over that barrier of golf being intimidating. They don't know how to enter it. They don't know where to enter it, and all these things. So that was one of our goals, is to create avenues, easy entry into the game avenues. And then the thought was that we go into these towns, how can we leave these towns, these cities, these areas a little bit better? And we started down the road of legacy leave behinds is what we're calling them. And we go into places, and we kind of, we started the committee, and we had to react pretty quickly because Tulsa was upon us, the PGA Championship in Tulsa. And so in that one, we actually contributed to a project that was already underway, which is to helping the city golf courses. They were doing a renovation. So we contributed to that. But now what we're doing is now people have some lead time, right? We can plan ahead. We're looking at 2025 and other areas where people are going, you know what? For example, the board just approved this, that we've got a property in North Carolina where the PGA Championship is going to be in 2025. That this was a facility that 6 black men went onto a golf course that didn't allow black men, and they were arrested. And there's a big story about how they kind of did a sit-in at this golf course, and it's truly historic for minority golfers. And so that's going to be our legacy leave behind for the PGA Championship in 2025, is that we're going to go in and we're going to renovate this particular golf course, breathe life back into it, and give affordable access to people to play. And it could be a golf course, or it could be something as simple as a little putting green, a putting course, chipping area. But The whole idea is to leave the city better than we found it, with affordable, easy, sometimes free access to golf for the community, especially the underserved community.
When we have the opportunities, Kathy, to attend the events, and we are downtown walking around, see that, I mean, it's just a tremendous source of pride, right? As a PGA member and or an associate, but also, the eternal, that's who we are, right? That's who the PGA of America is. So, Kathy, one more jump to your election as the National Golf Course Owners Association president. What's on the horizon? I mean, we know the larger issues. There's always some legislation to battle, which we're intimately aware of here in California, water issues and so on and so forth. But in your discussion with the colleagues and other owners, what's the general feeling about the state of the game?
Well, I lean on my friend Craig Kessler quite a bit for all the advocacy. Hey, Craig. But I will say that I'm not the first PGA professional to have this role of president. I'm at least the second, maybe the third. But as I said earlier, I run everything through my PGA filter. So I do have a few goals, and I've started talking about them already. And it was definitely in my my opening monologue that I believe that there's a couple of things we're still missing on at golf courses across the nation. First of all, I think the business value of golf instruction still needs to be talked about more. The value of having a PGA professional at your facility and what they bring, not just what they do, what you pay them, but what they bring to a facility as far as not just golf instruction, but what happens when someone takes a lesson. What's the member retention when someone takes a lesson? What's the annual spend when someone takes a lesson? What's all those things? So I'm really one of the three main things I'm talking about to owners is the value of having a PGA professional at their facilities. It's not a cost, it's a revenue stream. And so to continue to talk about that and to continue to talk about creating welcoming facilities. And again, we feel like things are a little bit busier now, rounds of golf are up, but we don't know how long that's going to last. So let's not fall asleep at the wheel. Let's continue to make sure that our facilities are welcoming to all. And we have a little bit of a blind spot there sometimes. And I said at the annual meeting a couple of years ago, if you've never experienced not feeling welcome somewhere, you don't really know whether your facility is welcoming or not. You need to have someone come in, secret shop at it, and walk in that's a minority or female or someone doesn't play there all the time, and kind of go through the steps. Is my facility truly welcoming? Do we answer the phone in a manner that's truly welcoming? I've done a lot of secret shopper calls myself. So that's an area of growth for us. And I really want everyone to ask themselves that question. Is my facility truly welcoming? Because we all want it to be. We all want it to be. There's 100% of every PGA professional I've met wants their facility to be welcoming, but they might not know how to get there. So I want to help with that and continue to focus on that. And then from the owner standpoint, I really believe that the owners, we don't have a seat at every table as an association. And it's not because we're not relevant. It's because we don't have a big bank account. We don't have a major championship. We don't have a Ryder Cup. We don't have a lot of things like that. But it's the voice of the person who owns the golf course is very relevant, very important. So one of the things I would like to do in my time as president is to continue to elevate that voice. Any place that there's being decisions that are being made for the benefit of golf, for recreational golfers, for any of those things, the owners need to have a voice at that table and need to be heard. And sometimes I think that's missed.
Yeah. Yeah, Kathy, thank you. And a question has come in. So if you don't mind, Patrick Bernard, Patrick, thank you. What is a small piece of advice you would give to a PGA associate / GCSAA student and board member of a small member-owned 9-hole golf club located in a small town of 2,200 people in California?
Well, my golf course is in a small town in Paris, Texas, actually. So the best thing that I would say is now more and more we're making our golf courses community activities, community entertainment centers. So whatever you can do to reach out to the community, get involved with the local chamber. We have music here on Friday nights. we do a lot with junior golf, we do a lot with adult golf, and that's kind of our MO, and that's somewhat expected. But to get out and branch out a little bit, and we have a 5K run on our golf course. We do a lot of things that, and we donate the course to do that stuff. So it's whatever we can do to get more involved in the community. We want them to think about not what the golf course takes from the community or the environment or any of those things, but what does the golf course give? What do we give back? So that's my thoughts on that.
Great. Thanks, Kathy. Tom? Yeah.
It was Paris, Texas was a movie, wasn't it?
There is a movie on Paris, Texas.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought so. Yeah, I have one more question, and I know we're running out of time here because we need to get to Craig, but I'm gonna put you on the spot. And I think you know that I feel this way about your future. Where do you see your path going? Not just with the NGCOA, but with the PGA of America. And is there a run for PGA office in your future? You can answer that however sideways you want to answer it, but and I think you know that I feel that you should run for office in the PGA of America. I think you'd be a great officer and a great president. But what's your feeling on that? And you can say, hey, I don't have one yet, whatever. I just want to know what your feeling is in that regard.
Well, I do have an answer for that. And one of the things that I've said, I'm serving on the board, which was great exposure. In fact, it was perfect timing to serve on the PGA National Board and then go to the role of president of the Owners Association, and the knowledge that I was able to take. I really believe that every single person on this call can make a difference. And I really believe that I personally can make an even greater difference at the committee level and the things that I'm doing. Adult player development is another one of my committees. Place to play is an important one of my committees. Master professionals. There's so many committees that I think if I take the time I would have spent as an officer or even on the national board and really dig deep into those committees, that my personal impact can be just as great. And so that's really going to be my continued focus moving forward, is to pick the things that I'm truly, truly passionate about and try to make a difference in those arenas. And so I have no plans to run. And it's I don't see that changing. I'm happy to be the president of the Owners Association. That's something that I really take seriously, and I do want to work really closely with the PGA of America and the LPGA and try to raise all boats kind of in a way. And so that's going to be an exciting couple of years for me. But I really think grassroots wise, I just want to help grow the game. And I've already been in front of the board. I got off the board in November, but I've already presented to the board twice since November for projects that I'm working on. So, and I called my local section. I called the president of the local section and said, hey, I'm available if you need some help with some committees. And so I've already got a couple of committees I'm working on in northern Texas.
I agree, and you are a great PGA professional, and you're the type of person who can get it done through the level that you're describing. But I hope somewhere in the future. So thank you very, very much, and
very nice.
We appreciate you being here, Len.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Kathy, thank you. And we also have a shout out from the Ed Wadnicki, thanking you for everything that you've done. And if you listen to Tom closely, I think I heard a volunteer to be your campaign manager within that. So please take him up on that. And Kathy, thank you. And as you mentioned, the breadth of what you've done is everything from the golf course owners to place to play to committee work at the master professional level. So best, Kathy, thanks for joining us again, taking your time. Always great to see you when we have our meetings, and best to you. Pine Ridge Golf Course, right, in Paris, and the family, and I'm sure we'll see you as we go along.
Thank you, guys. Thanks to everyone for giving me a little time. And we were talking about my favorite subject, golf.
Okay.
Thanks, Kath.
Thanks.
Take care, Kathy. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, and now the legislative conscience of the state of California. Craig, there's always something going on. We have budget proposal of near a $40 billion deficit. We've had some rainfall these past couple of weeks, and how much did we capture, and what are our current needs, and what's coming out of Southern California, and what's also coming out of Capitol Hill here in Sacramento.
Thank you, Len. Before I give a very, very brief public affairs update, I just want to highlight three things that Kathy said that I wanted to extract from her fairly lengthy presentation. First one, secret to success in anything is first to be present and then engage. The second thing was that golf courses, to the degree to which they become community assets, ingratiate themselves with the 90% of the population that never plays golf. We'd like to make that 89% and grow a little bit. And then the other thing that she brought up, so I think very, very eloquently, is that no matter where you are, whether you're the president of an organization, on the board, or just a golf professional standing behind a counter, your presence and your engagement and your ability to affect outcomes and to make not just your career better, but the world better, always stands. And that's a key thing in advocacy. So brief, I guess, political update. Not going to talk about the budget. That deficit's not really 40 billion. It's closer to twice that, but we'll deal with that later in the year. Right now, we are 7 days out from the close of the period when legislators can file bills. So far, so good. We're not seeing any of the kinds of onerous bills that we've seen in the last few years. We've had a lot of challenges, and we've had a lot of opportunities as well. As the listeners of this broadcast know, that we considered our great legislative accomplishment in 2023 being the assertion of the two words golf courses in a specific bill on prohibition of using potable water to irrigate non-functional turf. Golf is shouted out in that bill in that what is now a law, as functional turf. And that language has been copied and pasted into local ordinances, and it's being copied and pasted as I give this presentation. Those of you who read the public affairs updates that the SCGA puts out know that our holiday message, which went out on December 18th from Kevin Fitzgerald and me, was extraordinarily optimistic. It pointed out as we rightfully focus on all the challenges, on all of the competing interests that are part of living in a self-governing democratic republic. You know, golf is not the only game in town, and it's not the only interest in town. And we are particularly I don't want to call it our Achilles heel, but our great existential challenges that we always require a lot of land to provide our recreational amenity. Now, that may not be as compelling in Paris, Texas, but in places like San Francisco and Oakland and San Diego and Los Angeles and all the urban areas of California, it is our central challenge, not just for housing, but for other uses. Almost any use which is commercial or residential is going to be a higher and better economic use, but it's not going to be a better quality of life use, a better environmental use. Kathy was very eloquent in explaining those virtues of a golf course as well. And we hammer and hammer and hammer away at those. And interestingly, they're very, very resonant. So far, and let me get back to the holiday message. We pointed out that whether the issue was as arcane as neonicotinoids, if this were a group of superintendents, you'd know what I was talking about, or independent contracting, this is a group of golf professionals, so you very much know that, or whether the issue was 2 runs or actually 3 runs at providing free money to developers to take our municipal golf courses, which are almost 1 out of 4 in California, and chop them up into affordable housing complexes. I think you understand, or whether it was getting golf courses specifically as golf courses exempted in the proliferation of bills that ban the use of potable water on non-functional turf, thus identifying golf as very much functional and part of the recreational community. We've had an incredibly good run in California politics with the legislature. We've had good runs. I think those of you aware it's an interesting thing to talk about since since we're all trying to get out from under the floods. I mean, Eric Lohman talked about he still has an inch of water on top of his golf facility, and that's not uncommon. There are golf facilities that are totally underwater at the moment. We hope we capture a lot of that water, but the snowpack is great. And so Mother Nature has bailed us out again. Of course, we will not rest on that. We'll use that as an opportunity to continue to make progress longer term while we gain a little bit of relief. So we're a little bit lucky at the moment. But whether we've had success at that level, when we were in the middle of 2022, the golf industry in Southern California did extremely well in coping with those things, not because we were nimble on our feet or somehow we were great at reacting at the last minute, but because we were able to cash in on investments in time and effort, and literal investments in some cases, of 10 and 15 years past. And that's always the issue when it comes down to how we do in advocacy. And it's very much, I would say, the issue in our holiday message that was so optimistic, in the fact that, in fact, I was so bold as to write in there, the oil and gas industry in California may have spent $300 million lobbying the state, but we had a much better year. And of course, we don't have those kinds of monies, but we have something we should never forget. 3 million people play golf. They're ordinary citizens. A lot of people who don't play golf, we found in the AB 1910 fight, they think the golf course in their community, whether it's private, daily fee, or municipal, is an asset to their life increasingly. And that's the point I want to finish on in this truncated report. I had the pleasure last night of going to technically a golf advisory committee meeting of LA County, as LA County Golf Advisory Committee, but really what it was sort of a reset of a major municipal golf course in an area of Los Angeles County that is not in an upper middle class suburb. It's in the heart of what I would call working Los Angeles County. And for the last 6 years, there's been an ongoing, almost a sense 6 years ago that you could kiss the golf course goodbye. But that we've come to the point now where last night's meeting was for the County of LA to explain why there was going to be a reset on golf, 18 holes of golf. Touchstone, which those of us who are out in the West understand is not a shopping center developer, who was the previous lessee of the property, but a credible golf company. And I might add for this audience, their CEO, Steve Harker, is a PGA golf professional, and he made that very clear in his presentation last night. But to see approximately 100 persons from that community come out and explain in very personal terms, whether it was a lot of junior golfers who testified, whether it was high school coaches who testified, whether it was parents of juniors who testified. And I will say it was probably the most diverse crowd I've seen at a golf meeting in some time. And what they demonstrated for the council members who were in the office in the room from the city of Carson, or more importantly, the staff persons who were there from the county supervisor's office, made clear something that we oftentimes have a difficult time communicating. It's hard for me to communicate that. I come from a big 200,000 member regional organization in which this is just a dot on a map. And in this case, I happen to live 6 miles from the facility, but in most of the cases I operate, I may live 150 miles from this particular facility. I'm not part of that community. But seeing that community come out and make the point how important golf was to them, to the community, to the schools, to the juniors, and so forth, will go a long way toward that golf facility remains a golf facility for a long, long time to come. It's been there for over 55 years and it'll remain longer. I go into this great detail, not because one place on the map in southern LA County matters to everyone listening to this call, but to make clear to you whether it was the water issues I talked about, whether the great couple of years we've had on these issues in the California legislature, or whether it was last night's meeting. It's the work. It's what I think Kathy talked about. It's presence, it's engagement, it's community activism. That's the essence of advocacy. I know more so than perhaps anybody else that the result we end up getting, whether it's in front of the Metropolitan Water District, whether it's the Los Angeles City Council, whether it's the California State Assembly, whether it's the County of Los Angeles, that if the impression of golf is that caricature I like to throw out there to irritate everyone, it's this: too much land that uses too much water to serve the interests of the too few have had too much for too long. If they see golf courses as that, we're not going to come out. We're not going to have a good outcome. But they're increasingly seeing golf courses a little bit as Kathy described them, as assets to the community, recreational assets, societal assets, educational assets, developmental assets, charitable assets. We need to point out not the charity that the tour brings on a national level, but the reality that those golf courses are the sites for local Kiwanis clubs and local hospitals and local PTAs. That's where they raise that money, and that money goes from the community back into the community. And so our task, the real task of advocacy, and it's the hard work. It's not the work of sitting behind a computer and parsing the details of legislation. I do that. That's part of the job. But it's the much harder work of engaging, of being present, of getting into the community, and making sure that it's not we who are telling lawmakers why they should value the golf course in their district. All they see when we go in there is that, sure, they have their own jobs at stake, or their own bank accounts at stake, their big interests, their special interests. But it's developing those ambassadors, those real stakeholders from those communities. We can help them. We can bring expertise. We can back them. I've seen so many times when the SCGA comes in, or one of the bigger national organizations steps out to say this is important, people from the community feel emboldened that they shouldn't be shy about speaking up about what they think is important. And then that affects the 90% in that community who don't play golf, because those are the ones to whom that the office holder is going to most listen to. That is the real long-term work of this word we call advocacy. So when we end up with a good result, we end up with a business-to-business for professional exception for PGA golf professionals to continue to operate as independent contractors in California. When we end up getting the ability for our licensed applicators to apply neonicotinoids, when we get the ability to continue to use glyphosate on golf courses because we know scientifically it's safe despite what jury verdicts say, when we are able to beat back in a state in which housing is the greatest issue, particularly affordable housing, and we're able to keep our golf courses instead of housing complexes, our ability to do, or whether as in the great, when we reached the middle of 2022, coming after 3 bone dry years, and we were in a great panic here, golf courses were able to continue to thrive. It's all because of the hard work done over many, many years, painstaking, step at a time, arduous, being, as Kathy suggested, first present and then engaged, not just telling our story with simple bullet points and elevator speech, but really inviting them in and making clear to them that golf really is dedicated. We are not just corporate speak and coming out with glib talking points to try to persuade them of something. They see that every day, literally every day, and they can see right through that. What they want to see, and I'm really pleased to announce that, and not just California, but I can only speak definitively about California. We have really put that out in front of them and engaged them and brought them into our world. And as a result, they respect us and increasingly do see these golf courses the way we want to see them. And that's the hard work. That's the continued work. We've invested some, we need to invest more, because it's the groundwork, it's the community organizing, it's the emboldening. And that's not just sitting around. And I love to sit around and parse details and so forth, but we have to keep, what audience are we putting them in front of? And if it's an audience that thinks well of us on all the counts I just went into, we get good results. If it's an audience that thinks ill of us, and there are still those out there, increasingly there are less and less, then we get a bad result. So we can congratulate ourselves on all of our brilliant position letters and strategies and our talking points and all the rest of it. But at the end of the day, It's the way in which we do those things. I love what Kathy said, because it just really, it encapsulated so many of the points that I make. And so I would agree with Tom Addis. You should run for a higher office, Kathy, if you're still listening. So that is in essence the key. And also recognize that as ambassadors of golf, even if you're just, and many of you are standing, I always say this to an audience of PGA professionals, I have to work hard to get out there into these communities, engage with golfers and develop stakeholders. You see them every day. You teach them on driving. You teach them. You play golf with them. If it's a private club, you deal with members. If it's public facility, your pros are the contact point on a day-to-day basis. You're more important than you know in the kinds of things I'm talking about with advocacy. So with that, I think we're gonna. I think if 7 days from now, I hope I can say that we're gonna that our legislative challenges may be really light. May have something to do with the fact that we're in an enormous budget deficit, and they're focused a little bit more on that. So while it's not good to be in a huge budget deficit, there's an upside to everything and a downside to everything. And so we'll take advantage of the upside of a bad budget in this particular year. There won't be any subsidies available, but then again, that will also be no subsidies for developers to chop our golf courses into housing. With that, it's a little bit all over the map, not as specific as I often am in these updates, because there's not a lot of specificity to go into, but I'll just leave you with a final thought. As deluged as we are, the weathermen now tell us that we're shifting from El Nino to La Nina, which means that maybe next year will be dry. But I always remember that last year was a La Nina and it was a record year. So I'll simply, that famous Hollywood figure, William Goldman, who summed up the ability to predict which movie might make money and which movie won't. He said, nobody knows anything. And I'll say that about weather and about our ability to prognosticate. So we should err on the side of always being cautious and conservative, and recognize that long-term, we need to continue to reduce water footprints, because that will continue to up our image in the eyes of regulators and legislators and so forth, and particularly those at water districts. At the same time, enjoy the record snows and the record rains, because it takes a lot of pressure off of everyone, but maybe only a year or 2 or 3 at a time. So with that, Len, Tom, I'm gonna throw it back to you, and hope I shed a little bit more light on the subject than I did heat, because sometimes I shed a lot of heat on subjects and not enough light. But I hope I shed both of them on this one. And again, thanks for inviting me to talk to your members.
Craig, thank you. And you explained to us in a way the things that we need to know and might not be able to track on a daily basis, and also how sophisticated each of these aspects might be. So thanks for being with us one more time. And Tom, time to wrap up a little bit. Tom, we'll start with you, please.
Yeah, thanks to Craig and Kathy and Brandy and again to Bryce and Danny for their support. And Len, thank you, and Nikki, thanks for letting me sit in for you. And I appreciate it. And everybody have a great weekend and a great rest of February and the rest of the year. Take care of yourselves.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. And as Tom mentioned, Kathy, Brandy, Craig, thanks, and to the entire broadcast team for once again making this so great. Keep in mind, everybody, that if there was need because of the storms or whenever something might come up, a medical emergency or natural disasters, that there is help available. In the meantime, let's enjoy the waste management. Hopefully it's a nice weekend down in Arizona, and then we'll be back home again in California for the Genesis next weekend. So thank you for being here, and keep looking out for each other, and we'll look to see you on March 8th. Take care, everyone.
Have a good one, everybody.